I just had to change a needle in my Baby Lock Triumph. I am working on a quilt coat, so I thought I would demonstrate the ease of threading a Triumph. So I know a lot of people are on the fence on getting a serger. Let me show you how beautiful these edges are when you use a serger. This is a 4-thread overlock. Let's see if I can get focused on that. There we go. Look how beautiful that is. It is so nice, so clean. So I think having a serger is just a added benefit. And this is the stitch that I did. So you have two overlock needles, and you have an upper and a lower looper. So the biggest fear on sergers is how to thread them. And I understand that the Triumph has, it's a higher end machine, but if you're ever considering, there are others that aren't as high end that you can get with the same threading system. So first thing we do is we're going to open up these trays here. And I went ahead and unthreaded it. So for a 4-thread overlock, I have my overlock thread 1, overlock thread 2, upper looper 1, or upper looper and lower looper. So needle 1, 2, upper looper, lower looper. And then my loopers will come down here, and my needles will come over here to these 2 needles. And let me just show you, I have 2 needles. And each of them will be threaded separately. Okay. So the very first thing I want to do is move this button here from threading to serging. And I'm going to do it again so you can see what happens over here. These two, there'll be 2 things that come out right here. And those are tubes that when I forward the needle are going to connect with other tubes that are, here, let me undo it. When I do the needles, you'll see things come forward and through. And when I hit the threading and then I turn the needle forward, it is going to activate those tubes right there that just connected to my loopers. And then I have an air push system that's going to force that thread to go through those loopers. That's how that automatic threading works. And that takes out the difficulty in threading a serger. All right, so we're going to start with my overlock. Go through the telescope up here. So that's where I'm pulling my thread from, is the telescope. And I go here in the back, there's a little clip. And I just go through needle number 1. I go through the little traps there. And get it just settled right on the needles. There's a guide here for, these are for when I'm using cover stitch. I'm only using my overlock needles. Those are back here. So I could have 5 needles lined up here, but I don't. So there's my little trail there. Now I have air threading for the needles too. So what you do is you bring down this lever, which activates these things that have air. I have a button right here that I'm going to push. And when I push that, it's sucking air through these yellow things, so it'll pull. I have to aid it by putting the thread there. So I'm going to blow up a little bit here so you can actually see what's happening. Sorry. And I'm going to aim it. The first one is needle 1, so I'm aiming my thread for needle 1 while I push that button. And you can see it just, and it's pulled, the air's got, here, sorry. The air's got it sucked into these yellow things, and it just pulls it up when I pull that lever up. So there is, I'm going to put it back in that under the guide. Overlock needle 1. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with overlock needle 2. It's got its own trail that it goes through, but once it hits right here, it joins needle 1's path. So now I'm going to put it behind that same guide, and I'm going to bring down the air system again. And now I'm going to aim for the second needle. And there we go. I'm going to stick that back behind the guide. And now both of my needles are threaded. Really don't need to worry about where that's at right now. Okay. Now here's what's hard for people are threading the loopers. So as I already demonstrated, I closed those loopers up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull from my telescope upper looper. It's going to go into this path, just like the overlock needles, but it's got its own. And then I have a threading port right here, and I have a button that's going to turn on the air compression, the system. So it's going to suck it from here, and it's going to send it through all the different routes it needs to go through to include these tubes and out the appropriate place. So I'm going to take this thread and just hold it right there in that hole, and then I'm going to push that button. What I want you to see is what happens over here when I do that. So you have to trust that's really what I'm doing. And for my upper looper, it's going to come flying out of here. So I'm going to pull a little slack so there's enough. I'm sticking it in that hole, and now I'm going to push that button. And I'm not sure if you saw it, but it came flying out of that looper right there. Pull a little more slack. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm pulling the lower looper from that telescope, running it through its own path. And it's got that port right next to the upper looper with a little L on it, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Now it's coming out a different place for the lower looper. And it's a little bit, there you go, see it? Came out right there. That is it. My machine is threaded. That was easy peasy. So I will shut this back up so that I'll show you what it did. It unlocked those air system. I am on a 4-thread overlock, which I have a nice little guide right here that tells me exactly every single setting. It tells me that I need overlock needle 1 and 2, so I'm not using my cover stitch needles. It says the length of the stitch needs to be anywhere between a 2.5 and a 4.0. It tells me my width needs to be between a 6.5 and a 7.5. My stitch selector needs to be A. I need to have my wave selector on overlock. I do not need to mess with my chain needle tension. And I do not need to mess with my chain looper tension. My upper looper selector needs to be up. My blade position needs to be up, and my knife cover needs to be on and closed. And I do not need to engage my substory looper. And this is the path we just went through, and it's just demonstrating the path that those are going through. You can see there. And it'll color coordinate. So they give you a great guide on every single type of stitch you might want to do. They have a whole booklet for it, so it's fantastic. And what you just do is, right, so this was my upper looper selector, right? It said make sure it's on up. And there is my length and my width. My stitch selector is on A. My waver overlock is on overlock. I don't need to mess with the tension. This is just simply the speed. And I've got it also so that it knows it's doing an overlock. That's it. So I will close all my compartments and I'm ready to rock and roll.